Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham, and I'm in the country of Colombia. And last night at the Patreon Zoom meeting, a person, Andy B, asked a very good question, and and it's a pretty popular question, and I've been dealing with it for years in a lot of ways because I find that no matter what we do as humans, we are always naturally looking for a place to I guess homestead to live for the rest of our life. It's very unnatural to do what I'm doing, to live anywhere and everywhere on the planet. I've been in 114 countries, and I've been doing this now for 26 plus years. And what that means is I don't have a home, I don't have a house, I don't rent by the year. I do rent by the month because I get a better price. The guys washed my shirts the other day, and they really irritated me. They destroyed the collar on this shirt. Really problem with some people that wash clothes is they destroy clothing. But they don't have dryers here, so I can't shrink it down. But I really wish I could have white Carhartt t-shirts. White Carhartt t-shirts, because they are the best t-shirts. But you need to get them for about $15 with the pocket. But back to the issue. The issue is I have vergüenza because my collar. I'm feeling a little out of sorts because my collar is looking bad. Okay, but the point is this. He asked a question: which country would I choose if I had no other country to choose from? And if I had no choice and I had to go live in that country. Now, there's, being that I have a family inside the United States, and I'm come from a good family, I always want the ability to go see my family, right? So this is a very big consideration. And then as you get older, you also have the medical situation. So my medical situation is solved by basically living anywhere and everywhere and being the cost of medicine here is so cheap that I really don't need to go to doctors. And 95 to 98% of the things that you go to the doctor for, the pharmacist can assess and give you the medicine for it. Now, you got to be real careful you don't take antibiotics. Okay, but the question was, if I only had one country to live in, where would I live? And it's a very complicated question. Buena dia. But the variables that involve if choosing a country is, and I'm going to first talk about the variables that I have to consider. And, he asked me a question, and it was kind of off the cuff, and I gave an answer. And at the end of this, I'll give you probably 3 answers, 3 different countries on 3 different reasons, maybe. Maybe I'll give you 4. I'm not sure. This is a work in process. I don't try to manipulate the people watching my videos, so therefore sometimes I'm changing my my beliefs in it. But the truth is, when you're choosing a country, you don't know where you're going to choose until you choose it. Okay, and most people, in my opinion, don't have any self-examination or introspection or strategies. They're not really. They basically just ended up wherever they ended up, and that's not really. We are above that right now in the evolution of society, where we can actually choose where we want to live, and you can choose where you want to live in the United States. I often tell my nieces and nephews that if you're going to go to college and you're going to spend all that money, choose the city or the place where you want to live, then choose the job. Don't let the job force you to go live it. I mean, nothing worse than being told that you have to live in Chicago, which is one of the worst cities on the planet, or Miami, or I don't know. There's big cities that are just horrible. I mean, there's advantages to New York City, but most of the advantages of Chicago and stuff, see, most big cities you can right now you can have all the advantages without going there. Don't get me wrong, there's a reason to go live in Silicon Valley that is very difficult to replace, right? If you want to live at the cutting edge of certain knowledge. But these are the variables. I'm going to talk about the variables first. the variables that I would choose, and probably the number one would be love. Okay, if there's no possibility of finding love in a city or country or neighborhood or whatever, I don't really want to live there, and I don't want anybody to live there. I think that love is the most important thing that any one person can encounter in their whole life. And then the second variable is money, how we earn money. Obviously, the best place in the planet probably to earn large amounts of money is the USA, the United States of America. Europe is good, but I was reading this article about from this Norwegian Norse or whatever company. He says, in Europe, if you fail at your business, there's no second chance. There's so much regulation and so many things that it's very difficult to live in Europe and have a business. United States is the land of plenty. You can start, fail, start over. It's very forgiving, and you can do this. Most countries don't have the ability to earn a large amount of money. Now, don't get me wrong. One of the reasons I would live in one of these countries is because there's unlimited ability to prosper. I mean, actually, there's so much competition in the United States that a lot of the developing countries right now are much better places to live to make money. But the third thing is intermarriage. And this is, to me, the essence of racism, okay? Racism is when the different races cannot intermarry. And the United States, by a long shot, is the least racist country on the planet. There's no doubt in my mind that anybody in the United States can intermarry with any other person. It's not a problem. I mean, you can't do this in India. You can't do it in China. You can't do it in Thailand. Thailand is one of the most racist countries on the planet. But there are countries like probably Central and South America, for the most part, the whites can marry with the mestizos and maybe the blacks. But don't get me wrong, if you're a black person trying to intermarry on different countries, that's where the true shit hits the fan, right? I'm white, and being American is kind of a social currency thing that if they intermarry with me, they increase their status. Intermarriage with certain cultures is lowering your status. I mean, India is extremely racist, okay? Most countries are, the thing is that I want a country which is tolerant to intermarriage. And this is why the Arabic country, this is why it's so humorous what's happening in the United States right now, because we have people that are going to Harvard that are Muslim or Islamic, which are coming from the most racist, lacking intermarriage countries on the planet. And the only reason why they can protest is because they're inside the United States. If they were doing the same protest in their own country, they could get killed, okay? And so they're abusing the very thing to protect an institution that really is the least. So the Arabic countries are probably the most, the religion, the Islamic religion is probably the most least capable of intermarriage. Don't get me wrong, the Jewish religion doesn't really intermarriage that much in Israel. You can in the United States, but intermarriage is a signal of a culture that is tolerant of people's right to be who they are. And when Jefferson or whatever wrote in the Declaration of Independence, the right to the pursuit of happiness, this is the pursuit of happiness, okay? And what the problem is right in the United States is that the reason why they consider it racist is because it's so rare that it becomes a big deal. In most other countries, it's so common that nobody will talk about it. Okay, but intermarriage is a very big deal. Then for me, because I grew up in a very small town with 400 people, Orland, Indiana, I like community. I got to know all my friends. The dogs roam free, and we had a community where people talked to each other. They said hello to each other. And I really am addicted to that sort of community. So like the place I'm at in Colombia right now, everybody says hello, and everybody is kind of, I don't know, talking to each other. And I I do believe I can intermarry here. Okay, but community is extremely processed. So what is community? Community, that's a big definition, a variable. What is community? Community is when there's a social, physical, mental, emotional need to say hello to people. Like right now, this gentleman's observing me, and I have a whole bunch of policemen over here, and it's a little touch and go because police can be very dangerous. But this culture believes in saying hello to each other. There's an obligation. Now, as a alpha male, a dominant money person, see, the richer people have to say hello to the poorer people because there's a timid nature. So you really want a community where everybody feels that they don't just walk in a room and ignore you, okay? If there's two people in the room, somebody walks in and says hello. That still happens in different parts of the United States, but in the big cities. And this is one of the variables because Andy B was asking, he says, I don't think that you can actually become part of the community in Colombia. And I said, well, I think you're really suffering the big city Medellin, Bogota problem. Any big city is the opposite of community for the most part. Don't get me wrong, you have barrios, you have neighborhoods, and you do have little specific neighborhoods. But like I remember being in Carmel by the Sea, and I would consider it one of the best and worst communities on the planet, okay? Because they're whatever. I mean, like right now, there is the ability, like even though I spent about 20 years in Fort Wayne, and I was part of a community because I created the community. But there's communities where you almost can't escape them, okay? Don't get me wrong, the community of an Arabic country like Saudi Arabia or Iraq or different are very. Probably the least community I ever seen was in the Ukraine. They won't say hello to anybody, okay? It's considered, in Russia, you're considered an idiot if you smile and say hello to somebody. It's part of the culture. Absolutely strange. Southeast Asia, they say Sawadee Kop, and they basically will say hello to each other, but you're not going to intermarry. People do not intermarry with Thai girls. They actually are marrying a prostitute 90% of the time. Okay, but so community, what is community? Community is when there's a social obligation to reply to somebody saying hello to you. You go to church, and people in church, they just look at each other. They don't learn. They're not being led by the preacher is not leading by good example. Okay, he or she should be leading by example and expecting people to say hello. Now, a lot of churches do turn around and shake hands or sign a peace or whatever. But it should be the leaders of the community should be. Buenos dias. Okay, number 5 is access to knowledge. And this is what would cause me the most amount of problems in choosing one country. There's 4 types of knowledge that you can have. Like I'm extremely high on the experience level. I have 25% of your knowledge should come through experience, 25% should come through like media and information and knowledge on the thing. 25% of your friends' information should come from new people you meet. And then 25% of your information should come from long-term friends that can help you to filter out your personal biases and help you to talk it over and say, Andy, you're really not thinking this correctly, because they know you for a long time and they know your history. But access to knowledge is big. Now, the great part right now, you can become, in the poorest country on the planet, the internet access, especially with cell phone access or data, as they call it, is so good that you can become absolutely genius anywhere on the planet. And the only country that really understood this was the country of Haiti. They gave unlimited internet access for $3. to these students. And this is what every country needs, is unlimited internet access. So if Elon Musk really wants to make the world the best place on the planet, he should give his Starlink or whatever this, and eventually they're going to do this. It's going to have satellite internet everywhere on the planet, and anywhere you're at, you can have access. And if it was given for like $3 a month, it would be the greatest gift on the planet. Wikipedia was kind of doing this, but then I think Wikipedia is very political. Okay, but community, access to knowledge. So I want to be around, I want to have the experience of spending time with new people I meet that are incredibly brilliant. And I don't have that in Colombia. I don't have it in Togo. I don't have it in Guatemala. I don't have a high enough percentage of people that I'm meeting that are just the best of the best. Okay, and in the United States, you can meet the best of the best. So number 6, access to knowledge. Number 6 was associate with brilliant people. Tough one. But I'll tell you, as you get older, the people that are really brilliant are working all the time, and they don't have any time to talk to anybody. In Fort Wayne, Indiana, I had a lot of very, very intelligent people that I could meet at the Chamber of Commerce. I could meet at all the yuppie bars, and we could sit around and talk, and I had community that way. Number 7, which is food. There's food everywhere, but the sad American diet, the standard American diet, the sad diet, is taking over the planet, and the only way I can get into a thing is, like Planet Fitness in the USA has the best health clubs on the planet. I'm sure Germany and some of Eastern Europe, but it's the cheapest too, $25 a month. It costs me more here in Colombia to go to the thing, but the food mentality goes in junction with the amount of people that are exercising. So a lot of times the USA is the best on exercise. Number 8 is religion, ethics, Christian belief. Don't get me wrong, a lot of Muslim countries, I would almost say that Muslim girls that I date in Africa are much more family-oriented than the Christian ones. There's a breakdown in the whole value systems of the nuclear family. And so, in a way, intermarriage, the ability to intermarriage, and how many people stay married. The United States, the big cities, I would say the number of people that are staying married in the big cities is the lower percentage than the people that are staying married in the little towns of Indiana, Ohio, whatever. The number 9 is a variable is the Amazon, the ability to buy specialized stuff. Okay, I really love the idea. One of the reasons why I love Dominican Republic is I could get off the plane, get an apartment for $300 a month, high-speed internet with a kitchen, and they had the ability for me to buy stuff on Amazon, and they shipped it from Miami to there for like $3. So I had access to all the buying capacity of the United States, but I got to live at the best value on things. But the problem with the Dominican Republic is it's very dangerous and it's very corrupt, and they kill people. The number of people getting killed there is just outrageous. It's kind of like Mexico. Mexico is a really great country. It's just that it's so violent. And who wants to sit around and think about violence? So I should put that as a variable. Think about violence. I don't want to sit around and worry about talking to the police. I've got like 10 policemen right in front of me, and I don't have to worry about it. In Mexico, I wouldn't do that. No way. I'm not going to do that. Because in Mexico, the police come up and molest me. I'm using the Spanish word. They would try to, get involved, right? Number 10 is the labor is the correct price. And that is where the United States is out of control. Labor now costs as much as, it's just out of control. You can't get a person to work for minimum wage, and therefore it's became a broken economy because what you want to be able to do is you need to be able to hire a handyman, have them work all day for minimum wage. But because they're enforcing these 15, 16, what is his name? That Friedman or whatever, the one economist. See, the free market should work free, okay? And it should allow the people to get paid whatever they want to get paid. And it shouldn't be a forced economy where you have to force this thing. That's not the free market when you have minimum wages. Don't get me wrong, most countries have them, and there's some arguments for it, but for the most part, I believe that the anything over $5 an hour, even in the United States or anywhere on the planet, is abusive. Why? Because you want to set up a business in a place where hold up. You want to set up a business in a place where the market is the most open. So you want to go put a factory right now in the middle of, I don't know, Iowa or something, and then have the best type of labor, the most conscientious people working at the least amount. And if that state makes a minimum wage of $20, they basically did it. A lot of Thomas Sowell says this very accurately. Instead, social justice right now is what sounds and looks good instead of what works. Okay, so what's happening in California is insanity. Okay, but labor needs to be the correct price. So those are very big variables. It puts the United States right out of the game. The United States is a horrible country to start a business in right now. Number 11 is medical, and the United States is incredibly good if you have insurance and you're on the chronic cancer, maybe strokes, whatever. And we do have a medical system that if you have no money, and I'm saying, like right now, I'm almost 70 years old, and I'm going to start just calling gadgets 70 years old. And at age 70, if I have no money, the United States will take care of me. The rest of the countries won't do that. Very few countries will take care of you if you're completely impoverished. Okay, a lot of countries do give you free medical. Like I remember in the Dominican Republic, a lot of countries, all they want to do is you have to pay the pharmacist. I mean, the cost of the medicine is what they'll give you free medical, but then the pharmacist. But medical is a very important thing, and I got to admit, when you're above 70, the United States becomes a much safer place to do, but it's untenable because of the cost unless you was a wage slave for 30 years there. I wasn't a wage slave, therefore I don't have the Social Security, I don't have all the benefits. I didn't give them 30 years of my life. I've given 26 years of my life just traveling anywhere and doing anywhere. I've been 100% free for about 50 years of my life. I always worked for myself, so I have one of the best lives on the planet. I barely work, okay? What I work at is having a nice life, and because of economic arbitrage. Okay, and that's going to be one of the variables in the next thing. But one of the, number 12, medical is a huge problem in most countries. Don't get me wrong, you can have the best of the best medical in Thailand and probably Thailand. And it's getting to the point probably here in Colombia. I think you could probably have the best of the best medical. It's possible in Mexico, but Mexico is so corrupt. It's institutionalized corruption. Causes a problem, okay? I mean, institutionalized corruption is they will work together as a unit to screw you. Okay. When Donald Trump describes these guys, he does it very accurately. But what puts Mexico out of the thing is the fact that I don't want to sit around and think about getting killed. Okay, Mexico would be very good if you didn't have to sit around and think about getting killed. You can live very economically in Mexico, and you don't have to buy into the expat, bend over, get it in the butt pricing. I mean, sodomization of pricing is the idea that you're in sodomizing pricing is when they know that you're naive and they take advantage of you. And Mexico's the king of that. Okay, so now I talk about the ideas of choosing the country, which is we got these variables that it's all going to be intermingled, right? Got a dog over here. Where's Org? I have a dog named Org. Get away from me, dog. This dog. Dogs love me. Okay, so the ideas about choosing a country is which country is very difficult. Okay. I tried to explain this to Rich the other day. I said, Rich, you're driving yourself crazy, driving around the United States trying to live in a car. I said, you're thinking too much. Okay, when you have to spend all your time prioritizing how much money you're spending, how much gas you have, where are you going to park, where are you going to do, am I going to get in trouble with the legal system? These things are too complicated. I live in places where I don't have to think. I want to live in a place where people feel an obligation to say hello to each other. Like the place where I'm at in Colombia, they actually feel an obligation to say hello. Togo, they have an obligation to say hello. Truly, in a lot of ways, even Thailand has an obligation to say hello, but they're not going to intermarry, right? So the intermarriage problem of Thailand is huge. The Philippines has an obligation to say hello. Why I don't like the Philippines is Philippines is a very good choice for a lot of reasons because you can always have intermarriage and it's very common to intermarry there. So, and the access to knowledge is high. The biggest problem is they kind of have the Mexican corrupt Catholic problem. I don't know why Catholic is so much criminal thinking. I don't really enjoy the Catholic, the idea that you can sin all the time, then on Saturday you get to say blah, 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 and say some Hail Marys. And this is a problem. Okay, but I want to live in a place where people feel obligated to say hello. So the places that are that way is Colombia for me, Guatemala, Togo, West Africa, Philippines. And so I don't know. I mean, I'm going to choose one country because of the physical attributes. There is a variable about where the people are beautiful, and I should have put that up in the variables. Where are people beautiful? I mean, Indiana is getting very fat. They're not really, the farm girls are getting so fat that they're no longer beautiful. Okay, beautiful people. It's nice to hang around with beautiful people. When I lived in Fort Wayne, as compared to Orland, there was a lot more beautiful people in Fort Wayne because I hung around with the beautiful people and I didn't really associate with the people that were wearing spandex and weighed 400 pounds, right? Fat shaming to me is correct behavior, okay? You should be fat shaming people. You should be shaming people for acting in ways that is bad. This is part of a normal community, is the way you keep it in thing is shame and mockery. But one of my big variables, and this is where I told, this is very, very important, whether I'm married or single. Whether I'm married or single, I don't really need to be married. I don't need to be, I need only the capacity to actually get married to somebody. I need the possibility of love. And so like here in Colombia, I have the possibility of a relationship. In Guatemala, I don't really have a possibility of a relationship with the Mayan people, but I do have the possibility of a relationship with the mestizos, the very rich people in Guatemala, or I have a lot of expats that are, I have a lot of Israeli girls there. One of the best reasons to go. But I can't go to Israel and intermarry, so I'm not going to go live there, right? But community is the only way to make the world a better place, and that is the obligation to say hello to each other. But I have to have a country where you can intermarry. So the countries that are on this list are right now, of course, the United States, I can intermarry, probably the least racist country on the planet. Then the Philippines, but it's a racist country. Don't get me wrong, they're not going to intermarry with just anybody. They're going to intermarry with money, okay? Really a money oriented. If you have the money, you can get the girl, okay? But Philippines, Guatemala, Togo, West Africa, Colombia, these are the countries that are on my short list. So those are the countries that I'm going to be living in for the rest of my life. Don't get me wrong, I love to go to Thailand because I can buy absolutely anything in Thailand, but I have no desire to always be in a country where you got to buy girls, okay? I'll never forget these two lawyers from Australia. They were walking down the road, and I said, I was told when I was traveling through Central and South America, it was really funny. Everybody said you meet girls instantly in Thailand, and I'm sitting there, I go, I haven't met any girls in Thailand. Andy, and these two lawyers says, Andy, there's girls everywhere. Hola, amigo, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué vender? ¿Este pan?
Pan de quesos.
Pan de queso, ¿es Mexican queso?
Sí.
Yo muestra de mi. This is pan de queso. That means that he's got cheese and everything. Yo soy gordo, necesito esposa.
Es una esposa, eso es lo que hay aquí en ese pueblo.
Pero este pueblo es correcto, sí. Pero todavía necesito más flaco. Cuando flaco con músculos, más fácil. We're having a joke that I said I can't eat it because I'll get fat. And I said, he says, you're in the correct place. And they're starting to introduce me more and more. But the big city problem is always going to be in all countries. So as a rule, inside the United States, I want you to live in a city with less than 10,000 people. Abroad, I want you to live in a city with less than 30,000 people. But the operative thing, can you walk across the city within 30 minutes? If you can't walk across the city in 30 minutes, it's too big to have community. The breakdown in community is the problem of the world. And the urbanization of people is a big problem. But the only way to make the world a better place is community. And what is community is where it's small enough where most people kind of have knowledge of each other and they sort of get along and they basically have to live together. Hola. But communities, the only married or single, countries with intermarriage, big city problem. Everything depends on love. So I'm going to make all my decisions. And people asked me years ago, when would I stop traveling? I said, I would probably stop traveling when I meet a girl, I fall in love with her, and I keep making an excuse. I got to leave on Tuesday, I'm going to leave on Friday, but no matter what I do, I don't leave. Because what is love? Love is never leaving. Okay, so people that love their country never leave the country. I don't love the United States, but I actually love curiosity most. So when I got a taste living in other countries, for me, it was a very big thing because what happened was I had this endless ability to satisfy my curiosity. So, and that's one in 5,000 people are curious like me. It's not normal. Most people are just happy to do the exact same thing every day. That's why wage slavery works. Economic arbitrage. Now, this is the big problem. Andy, it's one thing to be retired and have money. It's another thing to think. So if you're in the United States, try to get a job where you don't have to go to work. I mean, that means you can do it anywhere. You can be a remote worker. You can be a digital nomad. Don't get me wrong. There's no such thing as a digital nomad except for me. I go anywhere and everywhere. Digital nomads go to one location. They have digital nomad countries, which means we want you to come to one country and live. That is not nomad. That's just a remote worker. So this word is abused. But I'm a digital nomad because I've been doing this for 26 years and I've been in 114 countries in that time. I go where I want to, not because of money or tax breaks or they're going to give me this co-working thing or whatever like that. Okay, but economic arbitrage means I'm going to earn money in the rich countries, expensive countries. Hola, ¿cómo estás? And then I'm going to spend it in the better economically valuable countries. So I want to it means, number 9, I want to earn money from the countries that pay way too much for products, way too much in labor, and I want to spend it in the places where I get the most value for the money. I'll give an example. I was buying, I can go buy clips for my backpack. Here, I'll show you, like these little clips for my backpack. In Guatemala, I can buy them for like 10 cents. I go in Joann Fabrics and they want like $5 for one of them. And I go, this is nuts. And you go into Menards and now they have everything in little packages. And it used to be like True Value Hardware still has it a little bit. You can buy one thing and they have bins of screws, nuts, and bolts and stuff. But the idea of the packaged product and whatever has made it so the only way to buy economically is with eBay, Etsy, Amazon, and things like that. And that is an inflationary thing that's happened in the United States that's out of control. But I want to have good value for my money. And inside the United States, they've trained people. Oh, that's interesting. They've trained people to think that the more you spend, the higher your social class is. And so they got these absolutely naive people spending all their money. They earn $200,000 a year and they spend all their money blowing it away, whatever, to try to prove to somebody that they don't know that they're somebody special. Absolutely insane. They don't have any ability to strategically buy things at economic value. But I want to live in countries that I get my money, I get the best value for my money. Number 10, which is one thing that, this is the litmus test or the threshold of how I know that I have friends in the country is when I leave, are they emailing me? Are they, so how many emails I collect in each country is a signal of how many friends I had in the country. Because a relationship that goes on after you go away. So right now, I have a lot of, probably the number one country on the planet that WhatsApp has replaced emails. The number one place that messages me on a regular basis is Togo, West Africa. I will say that one of the signals, Andy, that told you which country I really would want to live in is when COVID-19 happened, I worked my way to Togo, West Africa, because it was the only place I could imagine spending a year, okay? So I went there and lived a year. So counting your emails, though, is but everybody's different. And this is where the matrix of the Venn diagram, breaking this down is difficult for people, is everybody has these variables at the top. And I'll tell you these variables again that influence you. Love, money, intermarriage, community, access to knowledge, association with brilliant people, food, religion, Christianity, be able to buy on Amazon, labor, correct price, medical keeps 90% of people in the United States because they're just, they're in love with living too much. They're fear-based people instead of, their glass is half full instead of half empty instead of half full. I'm not afraid of dying, okay? Most people can't travel because they're afraid of dying. And they're also so angry. I told this Marcos in, Huatuco, Mexico. I told him he's from California. He's funny. His sons are all probably going to vote for Kamala and he's going to vote for Trump. But the funny part is, I'm going to forget what I was talking about. Sorry about that. That means I'm a near genius, not a genius. A near genius can think very complicated thoughts but loses some of them. A genius has very complicated thoughts and doesn't forget what they're talking about. Okay, but the point is this, is that we all have these variables. So you got to get these variables and you got to put them together in the variables for you. But the biggest one is probably family. And so leaving your family is almost never a good idea, okay? All these immigrants leaving Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico, whatever, are not good people because you wouldn't just desert your family and never say hello to them again in your life, okay? Getting, to leave your family for money is prostitution. Okay, so don't do that. But if you're going to start over in the United States, what you should do is start out as a. I will tell you what these guys are all doing. It's 8:08 here, meaning they're all late, and absolutely nobody's arriving on time. But they do rush real fast to be late. Okay, it's really the whole world is. Hasn't learned that employment means you have a time card, and if they arrive late, you fire them. That should be the number one rule of every business. The only rule I had in my business was if you don't arrive on time, and that means 10 minutes early, I fire you. Okay, but the best thing you can do is get a job where you can work remotely. So the best job probably on the planet is probably graphics. I think that's probably the most digitally to do graphics. Right now with some of the AI, they're going to make it so that you can put together the right variables, and you tell the AI what to do, and they create the graphic, which is really valuable. Okay, so which countries do I want to live in if I had no choice? And the answer I told Andy was Togo, West Africa. The big problem it has there is access to brilliant people. I don't have access to brilliant people. I have access to very genius levels of social interaction people. I mean, you can be absolutely emotionally brilliant and have no knowledge, okay? But my access to being able to associate with the best of the best is really a problem. Now, if I was married, it might be going to Lake Atalan where the climate's perfect, and we do have a steady stream of brilliant people coming through there because it's cheap. Contrary to what you think, nobody's going to go to Africa because the airplane ticket costs too much. Okay, so the number one countries to go to is Mexico and Guatemala. Colombia is really cheap, but access to brilliance is a lot higher. So my number two pick would be probably Colombia right now. Colombia is my number two place. And if I had a wife, you got to understand, it's a partnership. When you get a wife, you don't just get to say you have to live here. So I have a very good chance that if I ever get married, I would be staying in the place where I met the girl. And why? Because I want her. When I was asked Ba to marry me in Ivory Coast, I wanted her to stay close to her family and friends. I didn't want her to think that she had to leave the country. My Thai girlfriend that wasn't a prostitute, she was a master's in pain medicine. She would never leave the country. She thought this was absolutely silly to leave the country. On the other side, it was one of our biggest problems that her whole family and culture was racist against me, and she subliminally was racist against me, and it caused a lot of problems. But I met her after, it took me 30 days to meet her. Okay, so my first country would be Togo, West Africa. Second country would be Colombia. My third country, it's real tempting, no matter what, to go to Mexico and hide, okay? You can live and keep your mouth closed in Mexico and not get killed. On the other side is, there's different levels of community, right? So you got to choose a non-violent community. Very tough. The only community I know that's very non-violent in Mexico is Huatulco, Mexico. It's just like living in the United States. The bad part is you got a bunch of totally, absolutely idiot level of naive people in Huatulco, Mexico. I mean, the Canadians and the Americans come down there are absolutely idiots. They will spend $400,000 for a condo there, and it's just like Acapulco. There was people, I'll never forget, Jack bought, in 1955, he bought a condo for $25,000 in Acapulco, and about 20 years later, it was still worth $25,000. It had become trendy, and you buy this. Buying land abroad is really quite stupid. Okay, so there's a first country would be Togo, West Africa. Second countries would be probably Colombia without a wife. If I had a wife, it'd be very tempted to live in Lake Atalan, because I'm not going to find a wife in Lake Atalan that easy. Why? Because I'm used to dating young, beautiful, attractive, athletic women, and that's not easy in Guatemala. Plus, the age problem is always enforced among the Europeans and the white people and the foreigners there. I mean, in a lot of ways, Israel would be one of the best places to live on the planet, or Norway. The only place that I would even think about giving up my passport for would be Norway, and that is because Norway has they have trillions of dollars and they have very few people, so every single person has access to things. The bad part about them is they have a superiority complex, but it is a superiority complex is where the race actually thinks that they're smarter than other cultures because they have money. This is what's happening in Dubai. People go to Dubai so that they can act, because they have money, they somehow means they're smarter. That doesn't mean anything. It just means that you have more money. You can a sociopath can earn money quicker than a normal person because they can take advantage of the naive nature of people. Okay, so number one is Togo, number two is Colombia, number three is Guatemala, but only if I'm married, okay? And then the United States is tempting. There is a value right now of me creating my own community. If I did a 50-house development of small homes inside the United States, I could create a community, kind of like a commune level. Henry David Thoreau actually was tempted to join 2 or 3 communes. And there's a level here where you're trying to get like-minded people to living together is good. Hola, amigo.
Morrison, thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Oh, life goes on, right? I'm Andy Lee Graham, and so let's go back to the list. Togo, Colombia, Guatemala, if I'm married. Don't get me wrong, Guatemala is a great place for people with dogs and really first-time travelers that really need to have an indoctrination into how the travel world works. Thailand is really tempting if you're so ugly that you have to buy women. I mean, if you're fat, ugly, drunk, whatever, Thailand's a great place. The Philippines is probably a good place. I just don't like how they get kind of ugly as they get older. One reason I really love Togo, West Africa, is the shape of the body of the human there is at the peak beauty. Okay, the physical stature, the way the body's shaped, they are the absolute most beautiful body in the world. Ukraine isn't the most beautiful girls on the planet, and used to be I would have said Medellin, Colombia was the most beautiful, but not anymore because they got too fat. Everybody's here's too fat. They're getting very, very fat in Colombia. Don't get me wrong, you still have some very beautiful girls. A combination of 25% black person with 75% white person is one of the most beautiful bodies in the world. A combination of an India person with a white person is a very beautiful person. I met so many beautiful people, girls that were half English, half British, that were in England, and I wanted to go to India so I could meet these girls. Well, the problem is there's no intermarriage, and it's a very racist country. My friend Mark was there, and he goes, "How do I meet a girl in India?" I said, "The only way to do it is to leave." Okay, you can always, if you're the super rich, live in anywhere and meet people. And so if you're going to buy women by exposing higher value, basically when you buy the big car, you buy the gold necklaces, you do all these things, what you're doing is a demonstration of higher value. You buy the car, you buy the house, you have a business. Yeah, you're going to get the girl that wants money. The art of having a good wife is to get them without all these things. And that's where people lose, and that's why the divorce rate's so high. It's because they bought the girl instead of wooing the girl. Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham. Those are my choices. Togo, Colombia, Guatemala, maybe Philippines on fourth. United States is still in the game, but I have to go there and almost establish my own community and get it into a place where the cost of labor is so high there that I really don't ever want to live there because I like to invent things. But life goes on, and I'm Andy Lee Graham, and I've lived in 114 countries. I've been doing this for 26 years, and I'm going to go to Israel. Become a Patreon if you'd like to go work your way through the process. One of the best things that I could do with people is I could help a person that's trying to figure out where to live to make these choices. I can qualify a person's wants, needs, desires, and capacities. A lot of this has to do with fear. Most people are not going to go to any of these other countries because they're afraid. I try to get my one friend Mark to leave and go to any of that. He's addicted to comfort, and the bottom line is don't get comfortable or you die. These guys have zero empathy. They're starting to scream in the background, right? Very common. Very few people have empathy on the planet. That's just the rarest of rares. Okay, become a Patreon if you'd like to get together every Sunday night and discuss and talk with people living in other countries. And I would really like to have a lot more women because women keep the men in balance. See, without women around you, you really are not a balanced person. You are a person that's only half a person. You have to be able to associate with all different levels of society and talk and discuss with people that have very different agreements. If you, like, I could talk with a person that's voting for Kamala Harris as well as I could talk to somebody. I could talk with anybody. And that is a polymath, poly-emotional person, somebody that can be in any kind of group and thrive. If you want to be alive, you got to strive to be alive. I'm Andy Lee Graham.